Hi, it's Darren again here from Renovation Insider. This episode, we look at the harsh conditions of the 18th century and how they impacted on our kitchens as they moved inside our homes. Between the first kitchen, the fire, and the 18th century, while there is no doubt a lot of changes that occurred to the kitchen, this era saw a lot of milestones, one being that the kitchen moved inside the home. As larger towns and cities formed, society ran into a major problem: poverty, which was at horrific all-time highs. This meant there were really two trends with the kitchen, one for the haves and one for the have-nots. While the quality of the diet of the poor was quite different from that of the middle class or wealthy, a lot of the main food ingredients were the same. The difference was how much flavour was added. Surprisingly enough, they were using a lot of the same cooking techniques that we use now. They prepared food using frying, roasting, baking, grilling and boiling, just as we do, and started to eat a lot of what we have today, including ice cream. One important thing to consider is that most people's kitchens were not perceived important enough to have a specific area in the house. Probably because with no recreational time, this was purely about utility. Everyone used to cook in the same room they lived over an open fire. This came with poor air quality and health ramifications. To combat this issue, in the next century we developed chimneys, but they didn't come without their own issues, like burning down towns and the like. However, in the upper class of society, economic and political trends had found their way into the household, particularly when it came to French cooking, which came with elaborate recipes and formal table settings. Dinner parties would traditionally last for numerous hours and consist of many courses. Well, that hasn't changed very much. This is probably the time when the more affluent got the kitchen into a room of its own, probably to keep away those pesky servants. Interestingly enough, this impacted on kitchen design for a long period of time, and only started to change as societal roles evolved. But people of the time had to become more creative across all classes, as there was no such things as fridges, so food preservation methods like pickling, smoking and fermenting were all required. Funny how this COVID thing has made us all look back at some of these methods more deeply. 18th century was considered a turning point in a lot of cases when it came to cooking and flavours. Whilst people were poor, they were creative with what they had. Another reason why eggs are the backbone of a lot of cooking recipes. As the Industrial Revolution advanced, new inventions came to the market. The 18th century saw the introduction of the metal stove. The Franklin stove above was invented by Benjamin Franklin in 1742. It had a labyrinth path for extremely hot exhaust gases to escape. A lot of these were designed for heating rather than cooking. Cooking stoves were known to be quite dangerous as we moved the fuel from wood to coal and onto gas. So what can we learn from kitchens from this era? Well, we can see clearly that it's only as society got progressively better off that the kitchen moved from a place to cook food to being a place to prepare taste sensations. And with the evolving Industrial Revolution getting into top gear, there was inventions coming thick and fast, apparently to make our life easier. Well, I think that's enough for this episode. But from the early to mid-1800s, up until the First World War, the changes to kitchens and society were enormous. Come along next time as we continue our journey. Renovation Insider, a better way to start your home improvement.